Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are
the FAIRtax Guys.
And we are still working to get rid of the Internal Revenue Service and free the American people from the scourge that is the income tax. We still think people should defund the IRS because taxpayers matter. Nice sign.
Yeah, real professional too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, a nice professional message anyway. Well, what kind of goodies are we going to just dive into today?
Well, let's start with a Grassroots Corner.
Okay.
All right. This is the Grassroots Corner of June 26th. It's written by Jim Bennett, who's the AFFT Grassroots Director. His email address is jim.bennett@fairtax.org. Bennett has 2 N's and 2 T's. Making the FAIRtax Stick Part 4. Now, if you've been watching FAIRtax Power Radio on a weekly basis, you know that Jim is concentrating. Every once in a while, he does an issue on this book that he's been reading called Made to Stick, Why Some Ideas Take Hold and Others Come Unstuck by Arrow Books, 2007. And he did one in January, February, and May. And what they've done, the Heath brothers here, yes, Heath brothers have said, all right, if you're going to have ideas and you want them to stick in the public's mind, use the acronym SUCCESS. First off, the S stands for simplicity. Your ideas, your presentation have to be simple and not complicated, which makes sense. I mean, you're not going to go into, the 1040 line for line by trying to convince people that they need to go to the FAIRtax. You need to keep it simple. All right. The U is unexpected. You got to do something unexpected once in a while, to catch their attention. And the C was concrete. You got to have concrete examples. And I love the concrete example. He would pull out a mirror. When it comes to who actually pays corporate taxes, he would pull out a mirror and say, "Yep, it's me." The public actually pays corporate taxes. And the fourth one, which is also C, is concrete. You've got to come up with, credible. The fourth one is credible. You've got to have credible ideas that people can adhere to. And
people have to believe you, have to be believable.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And so you've got to come up with things like, he uses this example. I'll leave it to you. You can get this on fairtax.org. You go to fairtax.org and sign up to get their emails. They won't hound you. They come out with a couple of emails a week. They split up. We get a brief email from the FAIRtax Guys about our upcoming show. You get one from Jim about the Grassroots Corner. It's also brief. And then you get one from Steve Hayes. And Steve takes one subject and goes into it. So sign up at fairtax.org. And the credible is when he's using this example about the research that was done on ulcers. Okay, I know that's not, but anyways. Wonderful. And he talks about the people who came up with it, and the conventional wisdom was that ulcers were caused by stomach acid, and these two guys said, no, it's caused by bacteria, and they went on to prove it in a rather dramatic way. Okay, so you've got to have credible information. The FAIRtax, all right, credible information is that you've got 9 states that don't have an income tax. They have a sales tax, and they are Alaska, Florida, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. And if you look at their economies compared to the 9 states that have the highest income tax, you know what we're talking about here. All right. So you've got to have credible examples. So if you're out there explaining the FAIRtax, all right, use this success model. Again, go to jim.bennett. If you have any information or you have questions, contact Jim at jim.bennett@fairtax.org. And Bennett has 2 N's and 2 T's.
Okay.
All right.
Question. Have you ever had one of those moments where after the fact you think, gee, I wish I'd have thought about back then?
Oh, yeah. Lots of times.
Gee, why didn't I think of that when that discussion was going on?
Yep.
And I had one of those moments not long ago about one of the Grassroots Corners that we touched on a couple of weeks ago. The one concerning the Illinois, what they're calling the Illinois fair tax plan. Now, people look at that and they think, well, that what they are promoting up there in Illinois is not anything like the fair tax that's described in H.R. 25.
That's right.
That they're using the words fair tax to describe something that is nothing near the fair tax that we're talking about. But what just hit me out of the blue a little bit later, and gee, I wish I'd have thought of this while you were reading this, is what does Illinois have? They have got a state income tax that is flat.
Yep.
They have a flat tax, which means everybody pays the same rate, whether you make $50,000 a year, $500,000 a year, or $15 million a year, you pay the same rate. That's what a flat tax is.
Yep.
And what are they saying in Illinois? That's not fair. The people who have more money should pay a higher rate.
So he wants to go to a graduated income tax where you've got different tax brackets and people with higher incomes pay a higher rate. Now, the other shoe here. Yeah.
People are talking about the federal income tax. How are people claiming to fix it? Let's make it a flat tax. So, Illinois has a flat tax. They don't like it because it's not fair. And then people are saying, let's fix the graduated income tax that we have at the federal level by making it a flat tax. You know what the conclusion for that is? They both suck, and you don't need either one of them. Because whichever one you've got, you're going to want the other one. Because they both have all kinds of drawbacks and difficulties and problems with them. So the idea, since the flat tax, like Illinois has, and I think 8 other states have a state income tax that's flat as well, but they want to get rid of their flat tax and make it graduated. Some people want to take the graduated federal tax, make it flat. Throw them both out, get rid of them, and just let's replace the federal income tax, and states like Alabama and Georgia, replace your state income tax with a consumption tax modeled on the fair tax. Get rid of withholding, give everybody a prebate so that they don't pay taxes on their basic necessities. But that just struck me out of the blue.
That's a good point.
Illinois wanted to get rid of their flat tax, and other people at the same time are advocating that a flat tax is what will fix the federal system. And they're both wrong.
Yeah, they're both wrong. A phrase that comes to mind is, one thing about beating your head against the wall is it feels good when you stop.
I wish I'd have thought of that a couple weeks ago, but that was that was just.
That's a very good point, and I've heard nobody else talk about that. Nobody across the country is talking about, one state wants a graduated tax from their flat tax, and yet there's other advocates that say, oh, we need to go from graduated tax to a flat tax. All right, both ideas are stupid, right? Because they're income taxes.
Neither one works because they're both taxing income. So, all right, let's move. That's my rant for the day. Let's move on to the candidate pledges. This is something we really need to get into a lot.
We got some new ones here. Let me review some of the ones we've already talked about very briefly. Alan Waters is in Rhode Island. He's running for Senate, and he is a FAIRtax supporter. He has co-signed the candidate's pledge. Dr. Rich McCormick in Georgia 7. He signed the FAIRtax pledge. Stanley Adair is running for Senate in Alabama. He signed the pledge. Gavin Rollins here in Florida 3, which is where this house is located. He signed the FAIRtax pledge. Vance Dean, let's see, I'm not sure what the result, but he was a FAIRtax. He signed the pledge. John Rutherford here in Florida, District 4, that's up in the Jacksonville area. He has signed the pledge, and he's an incumbent. Joseph Mulatto is also in Florida 3. He signed the pledge. Phil Arlinghouse from Tennessee, District 1. He signed the pledge. Alter Richter, New Jersey 4. He signed the pledge. In fact, he had a little video that he put of himself on his Facebook page. And Kat Kamek, who you saw the video here on FAIRtax Power Radio, along with Gavin Rollins, a couple of months before. So those are people that have signed the FAIRtax Candidates Pledge, and we've talked about before. Since the last time we reviewed this list, we've got P.T. Burton from Arizona District 9. It's a verbal. He hasn't signed it yet, but I know Randy is going to keep after him.
Oh, yes. Randy can be very persistent.
Yeah. Ryan Chamberlain here in, again, District 3 here in Florida. This is new, and he has signed the pledge. Amy Pope Wells, again, in Florida 3. We have a lot of people running in Florida 3.
We've got a really good FAIRtax organization in Florida 3, don't we?
Yep. And Amy Pope Wells has signed the FAIRtax Candidates Pledge. And I just found out about this like 24 hours ago. Dr. James St. George, also of Florida 3. He lives up towards in the Orange Park area. We're trying to get a date. He would like to sign it on camera like we did with Kat Kamek and Gavin Rollins. And he would like us to make a video. So we're trying to get together with him. And hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have his video.
Do you think we're seeing a domino effect here? One candidate signs the pledge and everybody else wants to get on board with it as well.
It's a winner.
Because they realize the fair tax is a winning issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When a candidate, now in Florida 3 here, since Ted Yoho is retiring from Congress, there will be no incumbent, but the people who sign up with the fair tax and strongly support and defend their position generally do very well. I mean, if you sign up for it and then you don't talk about it and nobody knows about it, well, you probably won't do so well. But if you strongly defend your position, you're probably going to do very well. So the fair tax is a winner for a candidate.
So we would urge people, wherever they may be watching this, at least within the United States, that if you can get a candidate to sign the candidate pledge and you go to FAIRtax.org, you can download a hard copy of the candidate pledge that you can print it out and take to them. If you can get a candidate in your district to sign it, either in front of a camera, video camera, that'd be wonderful. Yep. If you can just take still shots, we've got a couple of them where candidates are just holding up their pledge,
yep,
and we've got still shots of that. But if you can get either video and or still shots, either one, send them to us here at the FAIRtaxGuys@gmail.com. We will definitely want to put as many names on this list as we can. And again, we're not endorsing anybody. We can't do that, being that we're both officers with the Florida FAIRtax Educational Association, and don't want to get them in any trouble as far as the IRS won't let us do that. So we can't endorse anybody, but we can educate on who has and who hasn't signed. And the flip side of that, if you have someone in your area who has who's been asked to sign the pledge and refuses to do it, we need to know who those folks are too.
Yep, that's right.
We won't say anything bad about them. We'll just list their name and say, this person did not sign.
And if somebody tries to demagogue the fair tax, an opponent tries to demagogue, we can make sure that we correct their errors because, like Bob says, we can't endorse or promote any candidate, but we sure can point it out when somebody makes mistakes.
Yeah, and if you want to hear some of the mistakes and the demagoguery that goes on against the fair tax, look at the last 2 episodes, all the myths about the fair tax that people tell that we got to bust, how much fun that was.
Yep.
Okay, we got to move along here. We have gotten some pretty good feedback. We haven't mentioned our email address in a while, the FAIRtaxGuys@gmail.com. Of course, we encourage people to interact with us on our Facebook page, and sometimes we get some really good comments, and we got some really smart people, like Randy Fisher will answer some of these people.
Yeah.
Let's see, Carrie Bowers. I mean, you talk about an intellectual mind of the highest order, and a good fair tax supporter. Carrie will address some of these questions that viewers have, and so let's recognize some of the comments that people have sent in to us and some of the answers in case you didn't see it earlier.
Well, let's see. This one actually is from a year ago. Okay, Chris Johnson. What about abolishing the income tax, requiring a balanced budget, and establishing a federal state sales tax based on the amount of federal funding your state needs? Okay, so I think he was encouraging doing all those things together in one bill. All right. And here's the response. I believe Randy sent this response, but I'm not sure. Fair tax abolishes the income tax. The fair tax establishes a federal state sales tax. The other 2 items require separate actions, including a constitutional amendment. Asking H.R. 25, the FAIRtax Act of 2019, to establish a balanced budget is like asking your lawnmower to cook dinner for you.
I've never heard that.
It cannot do that, and nor was it intended to do that. All right? We need to take each item one at a time. Thank you for supporting the FAIRtax. And Chris came back and said, good information, no, thank you. So we've got some people that asked some very good questions out there.
And we've got a guy named Big Steel Guy 4. Obviously, that's a handful of some kind. If somebody buys a bus ticket, is that taxed?
Yeah,
it is.
That's a service. All right, it may not be a tangible product, but it is a service, and all new goods and services will be subject to the FAIRtax. So, yeah, when you buy a bus ticket, now I don't know if he's talking about the commuter bus, that goes from one part of town to another, or a Greyhound where he's going from one state to another. It doesn't make any difference. The FAIRtax will be included on that. And I'll also like to say, if you have a city bus system that charges fares, okay, that is an enterprise. And they're running a business just like any other private sector business, so they will have to collect the FAIRtax on that too, okay? So anybody who's running a business, a public government enterprise is considered a business. So
he asked another really good question here, kind of two-pronged here. If some teenagers or some kids want to sell some muffins, or if you got a lemonade stand out in front of your house, or if you've got a kid going around the neighborhood mowing lawns, well, they have to collect the sales tax. That's one question. Part 2, I hope food doesn't get taxed. That includes dog and cat food. 2 parts here. Let's tackle the first one first.
Okay, the first one, teenagers selling muffins, a bake sale, up north, kids shoveling snow in the winter time. No, they're not going to collect the FAIRtax on those things. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, there's a provision in the FAIRtax legislation that says anything that involves under this amount of income per year is not subject, because they're not going to go.
Well, if you don't have a business license, and you're not registered with your state department in Florida, here it's the Department of State. If you have a corporation that you have to register with the state government somehow. If you're just a kid mowing lawns, or your kid selling lemonade in front of your house, no, you don't have to collect the FAIRtax on that. Then nobody's going to come after you on that one.
No.
But this is a good. He says, I hope food doesn't get taxed, including dog and cat food. Now, here is where it can get a little tricky.
Yeah.
What happens if you go into the grocery store and you say, all right, we're not going to tax food. You've got to go through that grocery store shelf by shelf. This is food, this isn't. This is food, this isn't. This is food, this isn't. Just charge the tax on everything, but rebate back to everyone the taxes they pay on their spending up to the poverty level. So you can decide, and if you don't have much money to spend, food is one of the first things you're going to buy.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So no, we do not want to get into the business of deciding what is and isn't taxed. We will tax everything, and with the prebate, which is a feature that most sales taxes do not have, you get a tax refund of the taxes collected from you on your spending up to the poverty level, and that's determined on a yearly basis. For a family of 4, 2 parents, 2 kids, that prebate figures out to be like $611 a month.
Oh, wait a minute. You're a year behind. It's $661 now.
It's up now?
Yeah.
I thought it was over $600
Well,
a month.
I just happen to have the prebate card in my pocket here, my FAIRtax shirt pocket. Okay.
Okay, $661.
Yep, family of 4. All right, $661. So that's.
So the idea of we're going to tax some items, we hear that a lot. Why don't we just not tax basic necessities?
Yeah.
Well, because I don't want to put the government in the business of deciding what's a basic necessity. Just let me pay the tax on everything that I decide is a basic necessity, and give me back, rebate back to me the taxes that on the purchases up to the poverty level, so I can decide what my basic necessities
are. We've got to keep it simple. And like Bob says, if you start taxing one type of food, trying to figure out what's food and what's not, the lobbyists will be in there. Well, if this is not counted as food, my customer here has to, that has to be tax exempt also. That would be a mess, all right? Everything is taxed. Everybody pays the fair tax. Everybody pays the fair tax, and all legal residents get the prebate. And that takes care of it.
And that leads into another question from a Facebook Live session. Amir, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Barakет. Barakет.
Yeah, Baraket.
Pardon me if I don't have that right. Why is the prebate better than giving a tax exemption from a federal sales tax on basic necessity products? So we just said, why is the prebate a better idea? It's simpler. It does not get the government in the business of deciding what is a basic necessity. With a fair tax, you decide what your basic necessities are. If you just gotta have Budweiser, then that's a basic necessity for you. Now that's not one for me, I wouldn't do it. But you decide what your basic necessities are, not the government. You don't have the lobbyists in there, and part of the reason we have 70,000 pages worth of tax code is because everybody's trying to buy an exemption, everybody's trying to buy, an exception.
Yeah.
And just no exemptions, no exceptions, collect the tax on everything, rebate back what isn't owed. Period. End of discussion. It stays simple, and the lobbyists aren't writing the tax code anymore.
Yeah. Carrie Bowers responded to that person and said, "Hi, Amir. Such exemptions and deductions become the starting point to again have a huge tax code as each representative and the people cater to each other and obtain special deductions and exemptions, i.e. crony capitalism." Okay? It will be the means by which Congress would reward their friends and penalize their enemies. The prebate eliminates much of that, which makes the current tax code much larger. The prebate is the key to fairness with the fair tax. It makes it simple and it makes it fair.
It makes it progressive.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Remember, we had this. In fact, one of the things we were going to do this. We had this little slide where it shows the effective out-of-pocket tax rates for various different families. A poor family living right at the poverty level, somebody just a bit better off than that, a middle-class family spending about twice as much as that second one did, and then your rich guys that spend millions of dollars a year. Look at the effective tax rates for that, and you will see how the prebate makes it fair.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It works. I mean, it's a simple device, but it works brilliantly.
It works, and it's foolproof, and it's just incredibly simple. You can't mess that up.
Yeah. We've got a comment in the streaming, our streaming show on the, what was the date of that? Anyways, a few days ago before this recording session. Peter Greenwald from Virginia. I am the only candidate for Virginia 7 pledged to sponsor the FAIRtax. Go to my website, and he gives his website. Okay, so I did go to his website, and I clicked the economic freedom button. A new birth of economic freedom begins with eliminating all federal income-based taxes, abolishing the IRS, passing the fair tax, and repealing the 16th Amendment. We must secure the blessings of liberty to our posterity by cutting the deficit, capping the debt, and balancing the budget. Okay. So he is a FAIRtax guy.
Yeah, I don't see his name on the list of candidate pledges. We'll have to get a picture of that. If he'll sign that and send it to us,
we'll sick Randy on him.
That seems to be the common cure for anything. Just get Randy on him.
So, Mr. Greenwald, thank you, and good luck in your candidacy.
And we're
very happy that you're a FAIRtax fan.
We'd like you to sign the candidate pledge, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And final one here, and this came in just as I was preparing yesterday. All right. Carlos Phillips, who we've heard from frequently. Okay. An idea for the FAIRtax logo store for a shirt and cap or both on the item, type FAIRtax at the top, draw a tombstone on it, and on the tombstone print IRS, and underneath print RIP.
Yep. Rest in peace, IRS. Get rid of that.
Yeah. Well, so we would all love to do that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I will amplify on that a little bit. Why don't you get a cap or a t-shirt that says this.
Yeah, or
Defund the IRS, which is exactly what the fair tax will do, and that is exactly what a flat tax will not do.
yep, or the other side.
Yes,
I like that one too.
Taxpayers matter.
That's
Yeah,
right.
We talked to Rudy about here and get a shirt or a cap that says defund the IRS. Now,
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
pretty. Of course,
Thought
we
that was
talked
a good
about the
idea.
flat tax a little while ago. That it does not get rid of the IRS. People say it does, but it won't.
Okay, according to my timer, we got about 3 minutes left.
That's correct.
So we have to go with our call to action.
Okay.
You want to start it off?
Oh, yeah. Join AFFT. Go to fairtax.org and you can make a contribution of whatever size. This is one of the few organizations you can join that does not have a set membership fee. You have to pay so much to belong to this group or this club. Nope. Whatever you can and would like to, that's fine. We need numbers. We do need some financial support as well. I won't minimize that. But we need to be able, when we go and talk to these Congress critters, that people that are representing Americans for fair taxation, we represent, 30 million people. That's one of the reasons the NRA has such clout, because there are just so many members.
Yeah.
And if we could have the same kind of membership, or even close to something that organization has, we could have the same political clout that they do. So everyone who joins AFFT helps the lobbying effort to get the fair tax passed.
Yep. And while you're on the FAIRtax website, fairtax.org, look up your state organization and see who's active in your state. All right. Maybe you can join them. Maybe you can help out. Remember, we talked about the person that says, when we get this every once, it's a good idea, but it'll never pass. No, the question is, what are you willing to do to help it pass? Okay, that's the real question. So help out, find out who's local, and if you don't have anybody local, maybe you can start something on your own.
Indeed.
All right.
Go to Popvox, Popvox. That is where you can comment on any and every piece of pending legislation before Congress.
Yeah.
You can look it up by bill number, HR 25. You can go in there and tell them whether you like it or whether you don't like it and why. Those comments will get back to your representative. Every Congress critter has got staffers looking at this thing. And so we need to make sure. Now, the fair tax has an incredibly high approval ratio, well over like 95%.
That's right.
But unfortunately, the overall number is not what it needs to be.
Right.
So we need to go onto Popvox and raise that number up so folks can see that this is a hot button issue that people care about. And you do not like filing income taxes. You do not like paying withholding. You do not like all the other garbage that comes with the income tax.
And make sure you take one of these when they start having town halls again.
Yeah, when they do, you can start working on that again. Again, we'll be live at WTOB Sunday, July the 5th. That will be next Sunday. Check that out. Then everybody will stream that on our regular Tuesday night show. And that's going to wrap up this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. Thank you again for watching and listening. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Molero.
We again are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you that the fair tax is the only truly fair tax. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So, how much will I bring home?
Go ahead.
How much do you make? We'll just say 40,000, okay? Keep it simple, throw out the deductions, all that stuff. So, you got your 40K, right? Now the first 8,000 is going to be taxed at 10%. The 8 to 33,000 is going to be taxed at 15%. And the 33 to 40, of course, is 25%. So that brings your total to $6,345.
Okay, so the average is what?
16%. Okay, and then on top of that, you got Medicare, which is 1.5%, and then of course your Social Security, which is 6.2%. So actually, your new total is $9,405.
Which is
23.65%. You're getting it. You're getting it. Don't even get me started on what the boss has to pay. He's got to pay a portion of your taxes as well, so you don't have to.
Right. And you?
Oh, you'd bring home every penny.